Welcome back to Swordman Josh Gaming, and hopefully everybody that could participate in Core 2021 pre-release did so and enjoyed it. What we're going to go over today is notables from my pre-release kit, and the deck that I created. My LGS did not run a pre-release event. However, this is the deck that I would have won, and we played locally with friends. So my pre-release card was Sad Robot, Solemn Simulacrum. He's actually in the deck, but the people that I played with didn't have a problem with me substituting out a different copy of Sad Robot, so that way I didn't have to open him up out of his little protective wrapper here. So he gets to stay wrapped up, and hopefully he doesn't curl too much more than he already has. He's got a little bit of curl, but these things are supposed to be pretty hermetically sealed, and I have quite a few pre-releases still in the wrapping. Hopefully it stays okay. So, what I would have run for pre-release? Well, I opened a big bomb, and it pretty much made my choice for me. So the big bomb I opened was this guy, a alternate art, full art, foil massacre worm. The 3 black pips made it very difficult to run multicolored, and if I ran every single black card and every single artifact card I pulled, which is basically what I did, it created a deck. And it wasn't too shabby of a deck either. It actually worked pretty darn good. So, we're going to go through this by CMC. I'll give you my thought process as we go through and what I did with it. So basically there's a couple big bombs back here, and we are looking to stay alive to be able to play our bombs and win the game. The Massacre Worm will clear most board states and the biggest bomb we have. So when it enters, creatures your opponent control get -2/-2 until end of turn, and whenever a creature an opponent control dies, that player loses 2 life. Great card. Reading it again now, reading the card explains the card. I realized that I probably should have won at least one more game than what I did, because the bottom part is a static ability. Is what it is. But I did do pretty good. So, we're wanting to just draw. All Magic is all draw and land and making your land drops. So, our first 2 cards that we're playing are 2 Village Rites. Card draw. As additional cost to cast it, sack a creature. We have some creatures we don't care about sacking, including Sad Robot, because we'll end up drawing 3 cards off of Sad Robot, plus we have already gotten a land, so great synergy there. So 2 Village Rites is what I pulled. Turn 1, hand disruption, or even later in the game, duress. And like I said, I had to play every single artifact I had. So here's a little bit more removal. 3 copies of Silent Dart. Not the best removal in the world, but it's a good thing just to kind of sit out on the battlefield. And if they have a 5/5 and you can attack in with a 1/1, you leave the mana open. Or, excuse me, if they have a 4/4 and you can attack in with a 1/1 and you have the mana open, you can certainly threaten to trade up. So, 3 Silent Darts. Not a card I particularly like to play, but one I had to play. We had Liliana's Steward. Great 1 mana blocker, 1/2. You can block, and then in response you can make an opponent discard it. Well, you can't. It's at sorcery speed. Basically, I played her as a blocker. I never used this other ability. She was just a 1/2 blocker for me. Now into our 2 drops. Lovely reprint. Kite Sail Freebooter. Again, hand disruption, so that's 2 hand disruption. And it's a 1/2 flyer, so it has a little bit of evasion to boot. So basically, Duress is removal, Silent Dart is removal, Kite Sail Freebooter is removal, Grasp of Darkness, great budget removal. Had no problem with those 2 black pips since we're playing all swamps. Our next 2-drop is Masked Blackguard, which is flash, so it could possibly save your life. And he's a mana sink for late in the game. Actually, let's go this way. You'll be able to see how it curves out that way. Next we have Fetid Imp. Just a 1/2 flyer, so it has evasion, but for a black you can give it death touch, so it can easily trade up. So it's a great 2-drop to have, especially for sealed, possibly for draft as well. I had to play every artifact I had and needed some more creatures, so we're playing Prismite. We're never going to use the ability of it, but it's a 2/1 for 2. It can trade, I guess. Now into our 3-drops, we have Caged Zombie. This ability did come into play multiple times. Each opponent loses 2 life. Activate this ability only if a creature died this turn. Obviously, with Massacre Worm, that can just add on another 2 damage, because Massacre Worm is almost always going to kill something. And with the Death Touchers or trading or anything, Cage Zombie can do some work. Our next 3-drop is Skyscanner. Again, we have card draw. Next is Hand Disruption with Mind Rot. So target player discards 2 cards. So again, we're now sitting at 4 Hand Disruption cards, which are basically removal, plus 3 Silent Darts for removal. So we're playing a lot of removal here. Into the 4-drops, we have Forgotten Sentinel. The only reason I played him was because I needed another card to fill in. So he's absolutely horrible. He comes into play tapped. He's a 4/3 for 4. He's a dismal, horrible creature, but I had to play him. Then we have Sad Robot, which this is the one that I replaced for my pre-release. So this is actually this card, but we didn't have to unwrap it. So Solemn Simulacrum. Also at 4-drop, we have Sanguine Indulgence. This allows us to recycle our bombs since we only have 3 of them, and allows us to get multiple uses out of them if or should they die. Again, kind of a piece of removal here and a mana ramp card. Still horrible. We do have a 7 CMC creature, so it allows us to get him out a turn earlier. Played it because I had to. Had to play everything I had. First Bomb, Gormand. He's a 5/5 with Flample. When he comes in, you have to sack a creature. Sack any one of these 1, 2 drops, 3 drops, or even the Solemn Simulacrum is a 4-drop. Any of them are great. Actually, I won a game sacking Solemn because I decided not to block with it, knowing he was in the deck, and it was getting towards the end of the game, and I top-decked him, sacked the Solemn, won that game. But he has Flample, and then, so basically, it's you sack a creature as part of the casting cost, and then they sack a creature on an ETB, on an Enter the Battlefield effect. So the only time that this would hurt would be if you paid 6 mana, sacked a creature, and then they counterspelled it because you don't get the ETB forcing them to discard, or forcing them to sack a creature. But other than that, a 5/5 Flample, it's pretty good. So there's our 6 CMC. Our next 6 CMCs, we've already talked extensively about Massacre Worm. That's where he sits. Scoot these down. And then our 7 CMCs are Chromatic Ori. I opened this one. Actually used the draw for draw 1 a couple of games. But 5 black mana. By the time you get to this point in the game where you're casting it, you really don't need it. But yeah, it's in there. It allows us to do things, and it was one of the notable pulls. So I actually pulled 2 mythics out of my pre-release kit. And our last 7-drop that we're running is Gloom Sour, and it's an 8/6, and whenever it becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So really our only way to gain life in the deck, but that's not what we're doing. We are literally trying to disrupt, and ramp into these 3 cards down here. The Gorman, the Massacre Worm, and the Gloom Sour. Making the deck run, I did pull in my pre-release kit, I also pulled a Fabled Passage, so I went ahead and ran that so I could have a shuffle effect. And then other than that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 swamps. 17 land all total. I could actually For sealed, normally you're running 18-ish land. I could get down a little bit lower because I am playing mono black. So that was the deck. This is what I ran. Worked out pretty good. Other notable pulls from my pre-release kit. So the Massacre Worm counted as a free bonus mythic, basically. So we have 1, 2, 3, 2 of them being mythics. 4, 5, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of these wasn't in here. Which one was it? There it is. Okay, I don't know exactly which one of these they were. I did some trading. I know I opened Sanctum of All out of my pre-release kit. No way I was going to play Wooburg for a pre-release. Double Visions, this is not the Double Visions I opened. I traded the Double Visions I opened, and this is just one for showing. But I did open one in my pre-release kit. And then Volcanic Salvo and Glorious Anthem. So that doesn't make sense because that's 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was either, I think it was this Volcanic Salvo, because I was building this deck before I got done doing this. I'm building Zerzoth Chaos Rider. I'm building Devil Tribal. Actually, here's the deck. I can do a deck tech on that later. But I built that. I had a epiphany last night and decided to build a Devil Tribal deck. And that's an EDH deck. But that's what we ran. And those were our other notable pulls. Really not anything that was worth playing. No reason to splash for either red or white for this. And that's it. So if you got any questions, leave a comment down below. Let me know how you did in your pre-release. And we'll just leave it right there with that amazing Massacre Worm. So as always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me